Hey, everyone. Andy Hall here. So I'm alone. I'm alone here in the wilderness, but that's okay. My rule or the rules is that I do five. I do my hard five. If you don't know what hard five is, well, back in the day, right, when you go on Johnny Carson, you're supposed to have your hard 5 minutes, right? If you're a comedian, you would be able to do like the best 5 minutes in the world. You okay over there, Tobin? You got the virus? You got the corona? I hear coughing.
Oh, no, that is because of a weed hit.
Oh, you got some waking and bacon over there, huh? All right, all right.
Yeah,
Very
we're
nice.
still been COVID free. You know,
That's good, dude.
there's people who are around us who have not been so fortunate, but we've been fortunate in that
Um,
way.
I want to say thank you to Godless Gummer. Right. I think we
Yeah.
all know some books that we could say that, I'm not really supporting burned books, but maybe, for me, it would, I don't know, Twilight. Um, but even in a crap book like Twilight, I will say this about Stephanie Meyer, the woman who wrote it, is that and this is the most important thing if you're a content creator, if of any kind, right? Whether you're a cartoonist or a musician or a YouTuber, if you can understand what your audience wants and how they think, that is incredible. And Stephanie Meyer understands her audience, and she knew who she was writing for in Twilight. The rest of it, I don't have anything good to say about the book. And the Da Vinci Code. I'll tell you my story about the Da Vinci Code. I was sick. I was in LA, and I was talking to people about maybe selling a movie script. It was at a pitch fest, basically, and I got sick on the plane, and I was curled up in my buddy's apartment in West Hollywood, reading the Da Vinci Code, wondering, wow, this really does suck. Thinking, wow, I could do that. I could write prose like that. Um, and so, yeah, that was my takeaway. How are you doing, Tobin? Besides doing the waking and the bacon.
It's all right. I'm just been making my progress here at my place and doing my thing.
That's good, brother.
Nothing really stopping me.
Nothing's
They can't
stopping
hold
you.
me down.
They cannot. They cannot be holding you down. Good morning, Blazing.
I have thought of that too. Like looking at a movie or a book that I just thought was completely horrible, and then kind of rewrite it or remake it, and show them, hey, this is how it's supposed to go. This, this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good morning, Ian Davenport and Cindy Plaza, back in the house. Glad to see you, Cindy. Yeah, I think we all. Yeah, there are definitely bad books out there. Yeah, and I'll tell you the benefit of having to move multiple times is that you definitely get like there are some books if you haven't moved recently, you can accumulate a bad book. Someone might give you a bad book and you don't feel like, donating it or tossing it. Like throw it in your shelves, right? You throw it in your bookshelf. But the benefit of moving multiple times is that you just say, I do not care about this book, no matter. Yeah. Yeah. One of the times I moved, this is like maybe 7 years ago, the divorce, is that I still had textbooks from like 1993 for my undergraduate, and I'm like, I just gotta toss this book, and it's like an anatomy and physiology book. It was like this thick, and I'm like, I am not lugging this around with me. It is not worth it.
Yeah, even a small box of books has a decent size, decent amount of weight to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to move all that stuff around, ooh.
Pain. It's a pain.
Mm.
I'll tell you. In terms of my when I was a free a freewheeling bachelor. I think the heaviest things I had to move were my books to my new when I bought my when I had my condo when I bought my condo. I think it was the books that was the heaviest thing because I bought the bed and I had and someone brought it in. You know, I had people coming in and setting it up and everything, so I didn't have to bring the bed in. And it was the books and the big screen TV because I need my big screen TV. There's not many things Andy Hall is going to spend money on, but a big screen TV is definitely one of them.
And those screen TVs wait, what year did you say that was?
Well, I bought my big screen TV about 5 years ago, I'd say, at this point. So it's a legitimate smart TV, you know, beautiful
Yeah,
picture.
those definitely got lighter.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
it was like 10, maybe 15 years ago, oh
Mm.
my goodness, those were so bulky and awkward to carry around
Well,
if
you
you had
see
to
these,
move the TVs.
yeah, you see
Yeah.
these postings on maybe Craigslist or on Facebook about old TV works fine. You just have to pick it up, and they're from like 1998, and you're like, I'm not covered. I'm not getting that. That is not. None of that is worth it for me. Blazing, you could be late. Blazing, you know.
Oh, yeah, getting
Y-
some work done, huh?
Yeah, yeah. There is. I was listening to NPR yesterday. I think it was NPR, and they were talking about the condo that fell apart in Florida, right? We talked about that story like maybe 6 months ago. There's a condominium that everyone knew living there was falling apart, right? There were cracks in the foundation, and then one day, a part of it just collapsed, killed a bunch of people. It was in the news for a couple of days, and that's not exceptional. There seems to be a lot of really crappy condominiums in Florida, in Miami, right by the water line. And more than likely, we're going to see more implosions of buildings that weren't meant to weather the elements. And you can see this actually in the city of Venice, right? Now, we all know that Venice was built on swamp and that they were protected against water, obviously, right? Because you have the canal system. But because of the sea level rise, the water is now lapping up against structures that were never meant to have water connect with them. They weren't meant, to touch the water, and so that's a problem. And a similar thing is happening in Florida, where the sea levels are rising, and you have these tidal surges. And when they connect with the concrete, they erode it, they weaken it, and that's yeah, and
And the
that's
crazy thing is you can see these things developing. There are ways to check and also maintain it. You could also
yeah,
keep up with it and make it to where it's safe. But if some people get too cheap and they like put it off. They try to wait until they can be able to afford it or whatever. And the
yes,
other thing crazy about Florida is their beach erosion. Their beaches are just eroding away. Like
yeah.
I remember they're trying to like crush recycled glass bottles and stuff to try to like fill up their beach.
Of course they are. Um, I'm sorry. I'm just massaging my brain.
Get that. Ah.
Blazing says also they made last minute changes in the design of Champlain towers that were structurally weakening them. So you actually see the difference in design and revisions of drawings. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, yeah. So we're going to see a lot more. It isn't just the same. With the climate crisis, it isn't the fact that oh no, the polar bears are going to be without ice, and we're going to have like thousands of species dead, probably millions of species dead because of climate change. As if that wasn't bad enough, but there are all of these other kind of unforeseen. Well, scientists, right, know that it's a slow rolling disaster about infrastructure being destroyed by climate change, um, crops being destroyed by climate change. Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing but madness.
It is.
I have heard actually that Marmaduke Scarlet, the only reason why I mentioned this is because you mentioned 50 Shades of Grey. I heard that Twilight started out as fan fiction of 50 Shades of Grey. So there's a fan fiction site, and there are a bunch of different fan fiction sites. I'm sure some of you already know about them. And that I heard that the Twilight series started off as basically, you know, fan fiction for 50 Shades of Grey, and then it got rewritten. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's one heck of an urban legend. If it is true, that's great. You have any big plans this weekend, Tobin Templeman?
I got to finish putting together the video for this next song. I'm doing something different with this one, and it is taking more time to do it this way. But it's basically I'm making a stop animation, and this can be time consuming.
Oh, dude, yeah. I was hanging out with Jimmy Lou, online. He was over at the Tang Network. He does the show Faith Not Included, and he showed me some pretty cool animation that he's been working on. And oh my fictitious God, it is a work of love. That's what it is. Doing special effects, doing computer animation, it's a work of love. And if you're vibing that, if you got the time and the energy, that's great. My hat is tipped to you. Me, yeah, I don't think I have the time or the energy to really sit down and do a whole nother skill set like that. But yeah, it's hard work. What's up, D Parks? I hope you're doing well. Oh, so by the way, I thought I was working early tomorrow. I'm not. I'm actually doing the show at the normal time, everyone. So that's 9 o'clock in the morning, basically the normal time schedule. I am going to do an early show, I think on Monday. I think Monday is the day I'm going to have to do the early show. Yeah, animation is, like I said, it's an act of love. That's what it is. It's an act of love. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I will be here. I will be here. I feel bad the last Friday you did an early morning one. Like, I did wake up and I sat up and I started looking at the screen. I usually get up and, I look at the to see if you've put out an article like you did this morning.
Yes.
And I read that. That's like one of the first things that I'm doing in the morning, and saying good morning and stuff like that to people. And
Right.
I was in that stage of where I was texting stuff, and I totally freaking passed out, and I woke up like towards like the 10 minutes where it was y'all were just about done with the after party. I was like, man, I missed it. I was so disappointed in myself.
I think that the one of the Cindy Plaza's here. Woo, Cindy. What's up?
Hey.
What's up, Cindy?
What's up? How you doing? Smiling. I congratulate you. If you can smile, then you should smile.
Hold on. Just let me mute the... Yeah. I'm doing okay. What about you?
I'm muddling. I'm officially muddling, Cindy. That's what I am. I'm muddling, which is okay, right? My girlfriend's gone. She's coming back on Sunday. I feel like she is a support system I have, right? A support system I have. And so what have I been doing? I've been keeping myself out of trouble, and I've just been doing a lot of work. That's what I have been. I think the people at Only Sky don't know when I sleep because I'm like, messaging them at like early morning, and then I message them late at night. That when does Andy Hall sleep? The secret is not a lot and in spurts. How about you, Cindy? I've been talking a lot. What have you been up to?
Yeah, the last month has been pretty complicated. I've been dealing with, like I would say, a big mental issue problem in the last 6 years, and it's been very, very hard in the last month. To make things simple, imagine you don't feel anything positive ever again, like no joy, no love, no happiness, nothing like that. And that's what's happening to me in the last 6 years, and therapists can't find a solution. So yeah, but I'm trying to deal with it. But there's some positive things. We started a new show on the PSF movement. You've been invited there a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
It's called the Women Atheists Unload. So we are 4 rotating hosts. So there's Jenna Mew, there's Laura McGee, Sonny Shell, and I. And so we're broadcasting on Saturday, 3:30 p.m. On Central Time.
Okay.
I can give you a link here.
Cindy, I don't know. Did I make you a moderator? I'm going to make you. No, you are
Yeah,
a
yeah.
moderator.
You did already.
So definitely feel free to throw that link down.
Yeah, I don't like to do it without asking first or telling about it first, but yeah.
I'm the same way. Whenever you see me, I mean, I'll make jokes when I'm in the chat, and I'll make a lot of comments. But in terms of like promoting my own stuff in the chat, I don't feel comfortable a lot of the time for doing that. Yeah.
Other than that, I've been in talks with someone from the University of Liège here in Belgium to do conferences about critical thinking.
So yeah, the last time you were here, you were talking about that. And
yes, well, that's being processed at the moment. We're talking about it, what form we're going to give it, but it's definitely going to happen, and that's amazing.
That's great. That is fantastic. Yeah. So would you be doing the lectures yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's gravy. That's nothing but gravy right there.
Yes. We're also talking about writing a scientific paper, because I want my vision to be confronted to the scientific community. And so we're thinking about this and see how we're going to work on that. But yeah, that's on the plate.
So in your experience, in your opinion, or maybe what you found in the data, I don't know, what is the most important attribute? And I'm going to put you in the hot seat, I guess. That's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to put you in the hot seat. And I should apologize beforehand. But what do you think is the most important trait to have to be a critical thinker?
So it's hard to say, because the way I see it, critical thinking is just one aspect of the thing. If you want to think more critically, there are 3 things you need to be aware of. There's emotions, knowledge, and critical thinking. Emotion has an impact on critical thinking, and knowledge impacts critical thinking, and also your emotions. And critical thinking applies and changes your knowledge and your emotions. So 3 of them are complementary. Right. So when you say what's the most important thing to be a critical thinker, I think it's to be aware of this, that your emotion can help you or come into conflict with what you need to, the way you need to think. You need to understand that your knowledge is as important as critical thinking, because you can't build knowledge, and knowledge is like a house. You can't build your houses if you don't have foundations, and knowledge is foundation. And with critical thinking, you help rise it and build it. So if you're not aware of all this, you only are doing a part of the job you have to do, to be thinking more critically. But the most simple answer, I would say, is intellectual honesty.
Oh yeah. That's a tough one. One. Yeah. Are there once again, I'm still putting you in the hot seat.
Yeah, no worries.
Are there, because I've talked with Stoics, right? People who are self-identify as Stoics, who follow like these, and Stoicism is this kind. It isn't just a philosophy; it's a way of life. It's there are like certain practices. Are there any kind of practices that you think are useful to kind of create this kind of space in your head that you can be honest with yourself?
Yes, I was thinking about this yesterday evening. That's the biggest hurdle I have right now. It's so critical thinking, according to at least one scientist, is defined as a set of attitudes and aptitudes, or we can call them tools and mental postures, and those mental postures, it's like your mind is in some state, and when you receive some information, those mental postures, they will trigger the use of a tool. Like yes. You are confronted with an argument, then your skepticism is going to call for logic, and then study the argument to know whether it's true or not. But though to set up those mental postures, if you don't have them in the first place, if you haven't been raised with them, you need to have an emotional incentive to put them in place, because we are humans, we are lazy by nature, and we don't do anything if it doesn't bring us anything in the end. And so if we don't have at least an emotional or an intellectual incentive to look for the truth, then we won't set up those mental postures. So we need to find a way to, for all those people who say, I don't care if my beliefs are true or not, I don't know how to deal with these people. Because you need to give them an emotional incentive to look for the truth. And that's something I have no response to that. I don't know how to deal with that.
I think if you've been in enough toxic relationships, and this is just me speaking, if you've been in enough toxic relationships, you should really start caring about being honest with yourself and about what the truth really is. That might be part of my journey right there. That might be part of my journey.
Really, that was like whenever the concept truth became important to me, and I was like, what is truth? That's when religion really started like falling apart for me. I was like, whoa, things started to seem contradictory.
Right. Yeah. There is this podcast called Rationally Speaking. I forget the name of the woman who runs it, but she wrote a book recently about the scout mindset versus, kind of like this warrior mindset, and about how when you encounter ideas, it's more important to think of it as you're scouting it, as against to suddenly rushing to judgment, as against to thinking that here is a foreign idea and I must attack it. It's more important to be like, I'm curious. I'm having that kind of scout. Because especially on YouTube too, there's this, especially by content creators, there's this incentive to be hypercritical of things because it gets more likes, it gets more shares, and it's more important to be like, I'm not sure about this. Maybe I should explore it, as against to rushing to judgment.
Yeah, that's part of the mental postures I was talking about, and you need to train yourself to get them.
Yeah. One of the things that helps me, and I've been trying to develop this, is that when I see someone doing something that I might consider stupid, because I could be judgmental. I don't know if you know this about me. I can be judgmental sometimes. When I see someone I don't know that is doing something that I think, wow, that's stupid, I think to myself, you know what? This is a snapshot of that person. I know nothing about them. I know nothing about this person except this one thing.
Yeah, when I'm in that situation, my first instinct is to ask myself, why are they doing this? Instead of saying that's stupid, I'm asking what are the possible scenarios that would make this make sense.
That's good. I like that too. Yeah, I like that too. Under what scenarios? Yeah. I was I do a little bit of lab work, not a lot. I work for DNA sequencing. I do a lot of courier work. I drive, but I do some lab work too. And there are these little teeny vials, and I'm not shitting you on this. They're these little tiny vials, and sometimes the lab that we get them from, they write all these little words and numbers just to identify the vials. And I'm looking at it now. You know, I'm old. I don't know if you know this about me. I am old, but my eyes are pretty good. But even my good eyes, I'm like, and there's a guy next to me. There's another tech next to me. And I go, why can't they just put number 1 and number 2 and number 3? Doesn't it make sense to do that as against to like a string of 5 letters on a vial this big? And he goes, yeah, I understand that, Andy. And just ignored me. And just went back to his business.
But what reasons would you go to write on something that small? I mean, that would be that would seem like that would have mistakes happen that way, getting things confused.
You would think that the letters would be so small in the magic marker that sometimes they bleed into other letters, and that the other vials have very similar numbers to each other. Maybe that happens. Maybe it does. So you're in, and I'm going to butcher the name of the city, Liège?
No, I live in Mons.
Mons? All right.
Yeah.
I know Mons. Go ahead. I'm going to be quiet for a minute.
No, go ahead.
Because the only reason why I know where these places are is because of my fascination with World War I. That's it. And so, you're in Liège and Mons. Oh, I remember those places too in my brain from the early days of World War I. Yeah. A lot of every once in a while there'll be like a German shell that pops up in a farm, like an unexploded shell. That's how crazy things were. There's still shells from like over 100 years ago.
Yeah, in the Mediterranean Sea also sometimes they find one. Yeah, Mons is also the city where the NATO military headquarters is. There's the political one in Brussels and the military one in Mons.
See, I did not know that. And now I'm trying to put that into my brain by saying I did not know that the military center is in Mons. Very interesting. Well, Cindy, you have supplied my brain with a lot of new knowledge, and I appreciate that.
I'm glad. And again, we were thinking about some ideas of topics for the show, and one of them was, can we laugh about everything in those times where we try to be awake of more and more suffering from minorities?
Say that again. So I can for my brain. Can you say that again?
Yeah, we used to have racist jokes and homophobic jokes and all that. And the question is, can we still do those jokes now that we're trying to avoid being hurtful to those people, to those communities, to those minorities. Can we still joke about this?
Well, Cindy, I have to thank you because not only did you educate me, but you gave me a chance to pop off about this very important topic. There are a lot of older comedians who happen to look similar to me, that, and some that don't, that just don't understand. They just don't understand, and they're highly resistant to understanding too, and because they had this position of privilege, which they could say those things maybe 20 years ago and 30 years ago, and suddenly they realize that that's not okay anymore. The society will not, the greater society, the larger society will not tolerate that. And that gets them angry because they feel somewhere in their midbrain that they have lost something. And there's a lot of acting out on that, a lot of acting out.
Because a friend of mine made a joke about me a couple of years ago. We were talking about the salary difference between men and women, and he told me something like, "Yeah, Cindy made the best choice with the transition. Now, well, she used to be a man, now she's a woman. So, did you have your salary lower, or?" So it was, to me, it was a funny joke. It was not
Right.
offensive because I know him, and I knew his intention. They were clear. It was really definitely a joke. But how do you tell the difference between a joke that's meant to be only funny and not offensive, and one that is offensive?
Well, it's so in a practical way, if you're telling the joke, right? And professional comedians and semi-professional comedians know this, is that what can you get away with, right? I mean, in terms of the crowd that you're working. So it may be a perfectly innocent joke, right? Which I think that your friend was saying, a perfectly innocent joke. But in a situation where, or a crowd, that may not work in certain crowds with people who don't know him or who can easily misinterpret what they are saying. So that's that aspect of it. And I'll also, so that's one part. Another part is that the more abstract the joke, the greater chance you are to get into trouble. Because right, so you're thinking about it and you go, yeah, because the more abstract the joke, the more difficult it is to thread the needle. So at its base point, if suddenly I got a pie in my face, I think a broad audience would think that would be funny, right? It is like slapstick, right? Physical comedy, simple stuff. You can literally see it in front of you. But yeah, as the more abstract the jokes are, the greater chance of you getting into difficulty. So that's another aspect of it.
Because they're perceived as a generalization.
Yeah, I think so, and I think people aren't good at abstract thinking. People, in general, right, as a species, I mean, we're not good at abstract thinking. So to get to the core of the matter about, and I'm not the first person to say this, it's about hitting down, right? It's about hitting down versus hitting up. So comedians in general, there's an unwritten rule that, you don't make fun of people who are getting shit on. You don't make fun of those people. I think George Carlin, is a great example of, you target people who are in positions of power and who are abusing that power. That's the target, right? That's in terms of, if you want to hit clean, then those people, and that's what I try to focus on in my blog, and when I was doing stand-up, that's what I was focusing in on. But in terms of people who are suffering or who have historically suffered, why would I make fun of them? That would be, that's just cruel, right? And you see a lot of conservative comedy, like on Fox News, that Gutfeld guy who runs the late night show. There's a lot of just mean-spirited comedy, and his crowd thinks that it's funny because they're all fascists, basically. And so, fascists think fascist funny. Fascist is funny, I hope that helps. Does that help? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been saying a lot of words, and I don't know if it makes any sense whatsoever.
No, I agree with what you said.
I actually have something I would like to add to this.
Sure do.
I recently started telling a story to Oz about, like my life story, basically. And it's caused me to start digging and thinking about like my childhood and stuff. And I've been talking to my partner. And there's things that we don't talk about with other people just because we don't want to be ridiculed, like there's things that like that those jokes that are, they can do harm because people bottle up.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. You're spot on with that, Tobin, because some jokes can cause harm. They can incentivize people to do bad things. Yeah. What's up, dragons in Genesis? Hope you're doing well today. Yeah. So, yeah, and the thing is like everyone's going to make, Godless Gummer again. It's Godless Gummer. Thank you for the financial support. Once again, to paraphrase Stuart Lee about what are appropriate jokes, I didn't notice Katie Price's. I'm getting what are appropriate jokes? Maybe I should know. Getting above interesting. I don't think I know that joke. I don't think I know it. There are definitely. I mean, for me personally, right? There are definitely some. There are areas that I will think about a lot before making a joke, right? So there's like street jokes, there's off the cuff jokes, and there's the ones that I have to think about how to parse it properly so it doesn't get misinterpreted, And I have to tell you, blogging on the internet, that's redundant, but blogging has really helped me think about things because people can there's always someone when you're blogging telling you that you're full of crap, that you're wrong or you haven't thought about it, and so that has helped me at least be a better thinker and a better joke teller, to tell you the truth. Thanks, Ian. I feel like we should just give money to Cindy and the work, right, for doing this program over the university, because it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, my channel is still not monetized, and I don't think I will be paid for this thing at the university because that's not my incentive.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Well, that's good. Actually, I think, people who end up doing what we do for money, I think that adulterates the process. That if you worry about chasing money, then I think that creates a problem, and you can see it with other content creators who chase money.
In the long term, yes, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be curious to see what your syllabus looks like. Just if you could ever send it over to me, I'd be curious.
Yeah, I need to translate it, and
you have to translate it into idiot. I understand what you're saying.
No, into English.
Oh, into English. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I made it so that it can be understood by people who never heard about critical thinking or anything else. So,
well, that's the trick, isn't it? Right? Is that I'm reading through Richard Feynman's book, The Physicist, his memoir. Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman. I think that's the name of it. And I've been talking about this quite a bit. That if you can't explain a concept simply, and this is his words, and I kind of agree with it, and I agree with it. If you can't explain it simply, then perhaps you don't understand it completely, or you don't understand it well. So yeah. And this is part of his technique too. And this is in terms of learning something or learning a skill. The Feynman technique is if you can teach someone the skill or explain it to someone, then that actually helps you learn it yourself. It's a positive feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was in the army, I learned this way of teaching. If you want to teach something manual or a skill to be practiced, you have to do it first in normal speed without talking, then normal speed while explaining, then slowly without explanation, and then slowly with explanation. And that's the best way to teach something, to teach a physical skill.
True. Darla
Interesting.
Scummer says Stuart Lee was criticizing some comedians attacking soft targets. There's a celebrity model in Britain named Katie Price, heard of them, who has an autistic son. Lee was criticizing comedians who made fun of them. That's just the lowest of the low. Making fun of someone who's autistic, that's just the not only is it, speaking as a person who writes jokes, not only is that lazy, but it's morally despicable and disgusting at the same time. But you will find that a lot with comedy. There's a lot of laziness in terms of attacking soft targets and low-hanging fruit. That's what there's some laziness in there. Dragon says, what if you understand the idea well, but just suck at explaining things? You should write jokes. See? Jokes. You get to, if you can make a joke about Ezekiel or about Elisha, then maybe that could help you, push the subject further. I don't know. You can explain things. I've listened to your podcast, Jason. Come on. You're an explainer.
Yeah, Jason's pretty good at explaining things.
Yeah. I mean, you can explain things to me. I mean, and so that I find that useful.
And the less moving parts a thing has, the better it works. Like, to me, like with my philosophy, how I think I keep things pretty simple, and whenever I build things, I try my best to keep it at the most simplest basic structure, and because that's typically the strongest thing.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever seen me get, on one of my drinking bouts that I do on this channel with Atheists Drinking Out Loud, or one of my ramblings about the AK-47, right? In terms of like the rifle, the assault rifle, it's a very simple design. It's made of loose parts, and you can bury it in the sand or in the mud. You can abuse it, and then clean it off, and it'll work perfect, and it'll work well. It'll be able to function. So there's something to be said in terms of engineering. Definitely keeping it simple. Simple things typically aren't going to fall apart as often as things with many moving objects. Dragons, powerful words, sir. I'd probably punch someone in the neck for ridiculing autistic people. They struggle so much. Yep, just get on daily life without people deliberately making their lives difficult. That's true. What's up, Theo? All right, everyone. Hey. Dragon says, I do this thing where I screw up an explanation and have to start over. Then I simplify it, and people assume I'm being condescending. I have not seen you do that. I'll say that. So I think I'm going to close up a little bit early because I have work. I have like work, like life work that they pay me, and then I have only Sky work, which I kind of get a little bit, but I guess I haven't figured out. I feel like the commenting system on Only Sky hates me right now, just between us, and so I have to go. I literally had to make a 3-minute video earlier today to show the tech person, this is what happens when I do this thing. This is the thing that happens. It's not the thing that should happen. This is the show. This is the thing that isn't happening. And the tech people love me. The tech people love me there. What is Only Sky? Marketing Scarlet, you know what Only Sky is. It's the secular hub there. It is the, well, I'm doing only joking, the funny section of Only Sky. But that's where I do most of my comedy these days. It's on the site.
All right. If Marmaduke Scarlet hasn't seen Only Sky yet, I have not been putting it out there enough in the internet. I need to go and share it more.
I won't say no. I won't say no. Shameless plugging right there, everyone. Cindy Plaza, always a pleasure to talk to you. And
Me too.
You handled the difficult questions well, Cindy. You handled the difficult questions well. And whenever you come up with a syllabus for for idiots, right? For dummies, maybe, send it over, because I'd be intrigued to taking a look at it. Just so that I can be a better skeptic, right? Because that's it isn't just fart jokes here. I want to be a better skeptic. And Tobin definitely. Tobin Templeman. And whenever you come up with when you come up with a syllabus and maybe after you've taught a couple of classes, we should do a little sit down chat here on this channel, because I'd be intrigued with finding how the development and then the execution of the course of the class. Yeah, I'm intrigued. That's what I am.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, everyone. Shamla hamla. Same crazy time tomorrow.